One freezing winter morning in Alberta, during the coldest period in Canadian history, Jake Logan jolted awake and spotted the thermometer on the porch. It read -45 degrees. The air was so bitterly cold that every blade of grass and leaf outside was encased in ice, locked in a moment of frozen eternity. Though Jake was a native Canadian and well accustomed to harsh winters, he couldn't help but shiver at the most extreme temperature he had ever experienced. He poured himself a steaming cup of coffee and turned on the TV to check the weather, but the howling wind outside quickly stole his attention. Standing by the large window, he watched as the powerful gusts whipped thick layers of snow into swirling white columns. And then, Jake's coffee cup slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. Leaning against the window frame was a massive grizzly bear. The mother bear's shaggy fur was stiff with glistening ice patches, reflecting the gray, somber light of the morning. But what stunned Jake even more was her behavior. She wasn't aggressive or trying to break in. Instead, she tapped gently and rhythmically on the glass, as if trying to communicate. Through the frosted pane clouded by her frozen breath, Jake could just make out 3 tiny bear cubs huddled tightly together, their little bodies trembling violently in the deep snow. Suddenly, the smallest cub collapsed, its body convulsing, utterly exhausted and on the verge of losing consciousness. The mother bear immediately picked up her cub by the snout, brought it close to the window, and pressed it softly against the glass. Her eyes pleaded with Jake, desperately begging him to save her child. Outside, the icy wind roared, driving snowflakes hard against the window with sharp, popping sounds that only deepened the unbearable sense of despair. Jake stood frozen, his heart pounding. Never in his life had he seen a wild animal act so clearly, like it was calling for help. Then, the mother bear raised her front paws again, bringing them together as if in prayer, and looked straight into Jake's eyes with a gaze full of hope and desperation. In that instant, Jake realized his next decision would forever change the lives of the bear family, and perhaps his own. With shaky steps, torn between fear and compassion, he slowly made his way to the door and opened it just a crack. The mother bear gently brought the weak cub to the threshold and stepped back carefully, as if politely asking for his help. As soon as the warm air from inside touched the cub, its tiny body shuddered and let out a faint groan. The mother bear glanced toward her 2 remaining cubs, then raised her eyes to Jake with a pleading, desperate look. Without hesitation, Jake opened the door wider, allowing all 3 cubs to step inside under the watchful but peaceful gaze of their mother. Once the cubs were safe indoors, the mother bear slowly crossed the threshold. She paused, carefully brushing the ice from her fur and paws, almost as if she didn't want to dirty Jake's home. Throughout the following hours, she remained calm and caused no trouble. Her only concern was the well-being of her cubs, keeping them close in a corner of the room, near the comforting warmth of the fireplace. At one point, she even used her snout to gently adjust the blanket Jake had tried to place over them, a quiet sign of her intelligence and respect. Outside, the storm raged on, the wind howling louder as the snow thickened, but inside, the air seemed warmer, filled with an unspoken bond between man and beast. As the cubs slowly regained their strength, Jake marveled at their gentle nature. They stayed quiet, calm, and caused no harm to anything in the house. Watching the little family curled up by the fire, their eyes occasionally lifting to meet his with a look of gratitude, Jake felt as if he were living out a fairy tale in the heart of a brutal winter. Hours passed, and when the storm finally began to calm, the mother bear rose gently and signaled her cubs that it was time to leave. One by one, they walked toward the door, each carefully lifting their paws over the threshold, as if afraid of soiling the home of the one who had saved them. Before stepping out, the mother bear turned back toward Jake. She placed her massive paw gently on his arm, her eyes filled with a gratitude too deep for words. With a final, solemn bow, she walked out into the snow. The cubs turned back once more to say goodbye, their small faces full of innocence and silent thanks. Then, slowly, the bear family vanished into the vast, snowy wilderness, leaving Jake with a heart forever changed and a new faith in the kindness and incredible intelligence of these majestic creatures. Dear friend, thank you for staying with us through the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.